Come on in, sit back and relax. You're listening to episode 237 of the WealthTech Today podcast. And I'm your host, Craig Iskowitz, founder of Ezra Group Consulting. And this podcast features interviews, news, and analysis on the trends and best practices all around wealth management technology. Now, my guest for this episode was Kevin Darlington, General Manager and the head of Broadridge Advisor Solutions. Kevin has been at Broadridge for 8 years. Before that, he was Managing Director of Client Solutions at HNW, a strategic marketing communications agency to the wealth and asset management industries. He was there for almost 12 years, where he led the entire product and service line of this expansive stage marketing and technology firm. I thought that was a really great conversation. I was excited to have Kevin on, as Broadridge is a major player in the digital marketing space. I always wondered why I didn't call it Broadridge Advisor Marketing Solutions, but it's just Broadridge Advisor Solutions, but their main focus is marketing. And we covered a number of topics. One was how crowded the digital marketing space is. If you look at the Advisor Tech Map that Michael Keatsis and I work on, which you can find at keatsis.com, there are 30 or so products in the digital marketing space. So very busy there. We spoke about the Broadridge's annual marketing trends survey, or annual advisor marketing trends survey. And we talked about what it means to have a defined approach to marketing. But before we get started, let's talk a little bit about tech stacks. Now, here at Ezra Group, we've seen the tech stacks of literally hundreds of RIAs and broker-dealers, and let me tell you, most of them are loaded down with tech debt. And tech debt can act like an anchor, holding down your RIA's efficiency and your ability to scale. So if you want to free up your firm for exponential growth, you should run, not walk, to our website, ezragroup.com, and click on the golden Contact Us button on the homepage. It is golden. Click the golden button and contact us. The experienced team at Ezra Group can evaluate your current tech ecosystem, deliver targeted recommendations, optimize your existing systems and operations, or even run an RFP and help you implement new software to get your firm up to the next level. You can take advantage of our free initial consultation by going to ezragroup.com. Now, a couple of quick housekeeping items before we start. Please subscribe to this program wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss an episode. Check out our charitable sponsor, the Invest in Others Charitable Foundation at investinothers.org. All right, let's kick this thing off. All right, this is going to be a fun interview. I'm happy to introduce on the program Kevin Darlington, General Manager and Head of Broadridge Advisor Solutions. Hey, Kevin, thanks for being here, man.
Craig, thanks so much for having me.
It is more than my pleasure to have you on the program, Kevin. And where are you calling in from?
So I'm in North Jersey, and it's a beautiful sunny day here. Spring has sprung, and yeah, if I get a chance to listen to the podcast, I'll be listening to it outside, hopefully, or in the car. But it's so beautiful out here. We've got one of those rare Eastern Seaboard spring days where you just feel like being in front of the computer is just not a natural act.
This is a hidden reason why I had you on the program. I just wanted to get more New Jersey people represented.
Well, we're a crowd of two now today here.
We could have done this in person somewhere. We could have met at the Parkway or the Turnpike at a rest stop and had this conversation.
Absolutely.
Next time I head back on the program, we'll do it in person somewhere in New Jersey at an undisclosed location.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. So let's jump right in. Can you, Kevin, please provide us with a 30-second elevator pitch for Broadridge Advisor Services?
Sure. Yeah. So Broadridge Advisor Solutions is really in the business of helping advisors and firms of all shapes and sizes grow their business. And that's actually in both the United States and Canada, so pretty much all of North America. We do that through content marketing and through software as a service. So, you know, our kind of ethos has always been, and an advisor that's a customer of ours says it better than I can, so I'll quote him. He says, if I can educate my clients, I never have to sell. And I think we very much subscribe to that. So Broadridge Advisor Solutions is proud to serve really about 100,000 plus advisors in North America, enabling them to communicate on a one-to-one basis with clients in a way that's always relevant and timely, but also on a one-to-many basis through channels like social media, through email, through their websites, and all that to say to help them attract more of the right prospects, convert more of them to clients, and then nurture those relationships.
That is everyone's goal in all businesses. Capture more clients, nurture them, and sign them up. Now, the advisor marketing space has become really crowded as of late. I'm sure you're aware, I know all of our listeners are aware that I partner with Michael Keatsis on the Advice Tech Map, which you can find on keatsis.com. And in that map, we've got an advisor digital marketing category, and it's just loaded. It's got like 30 vendors, 30 products in it, and Broadridge being just one of them. So how do you differentiate? How do you stand apart from all these other competitors in the digital marketing space?
Yeah, it definitely has gotten a lot more crowded. I've been doing this for a couple decades now. And I think when I started, there was really like two or three different, key players in the space. But as you said, now it's an awful lot more. Um, I think that the different players try to bring a different spin to how they help advisors grow. For us, I would say the common thread has always been around, quality, trustable financial literacy content as the fuel that really drives engagement. Um, and that's changed over time. I'd say, as advisors, I think are trying to, meet the in ever-growing needs of their clients and prospects for really high levels of personalization and relevance. Our view is that to meet those customer needs and those prospect needs, you need both high quality content and you need actually quite a bit of it. And so we are, proud to be a software provider, but I'd say what really separates us from the rest of the pack, Craig, is we have curated both by producing content and by curating third-party premium content. We have curated really, I'd say, unequivocally the most comprehensive financial literacy library on the widest range of topics and across the different types of sort of consumption. And what I mean by that is like that's not just articles, it's not just calculators, it's not just videos, it's not just infographics, it's not just seminars, it's all of the above. And so allowing firms and advisors to access that content and deploy it at the right time, at the right place, at the right channel, um, is really what I would say is our secret superpower.
That is impressive, and that's also quite important, especially for larger wealth management firms, broker dealers, and such that have their own learning management systems. Can your content fit easily into a learning management platform?
It can, I would say our content, and we've done a lot over the years to make our content more portable. More so than the place that our content is, the use case of I think for us, the common use case that's important is the content is going from uh, an advisor or a team to her or his or the team's prospects and clients. So we don't, typically, and we haven't, Craig, been the enabler of, and I'm not going to name any names, but if you're the big wealth management brand and you're looking to plaster content, out in the public space just for your firm, um, that's really not been our model. We're really here to help, um, the advisors and teams at the point of prospect and client connection. So learning management systems for things like credentializing or accrediting investors is something we've looked at. I'm not sure if that's, Craig, what you're talking about, or more like learning management systems for the advisors. But in that case, we actually also do, interestingly, we also offer continuing ed for advisors. So we do a little bit of those as well.
Yes, I was talking about the for advisors, so a learning management platform, like if some of our bigger broker-dealer clients have learning management platforms that we work with, helping them build out advisor content. So they're always looking for good sources of content that can be easily imported into their LMS rather than sometimes it's just it's in PDF format or it's not really easily parsable or searchable and importable into these types of systems.
Yeah, the vast majority of our content is HTML content, and
Mm,
so we try to make it portable. I would say that that use case is probably not garden variety for us,
mm.
but when applicable, especially in the case of, like I say, continuing ed and things like that, we do create content that's more, that the audience is more the advisor. But I would say the vast majority of the content we curate or produce is meant for the audience of the end investor.
Indeed. Um, Moving on to the next topic, I was impressed with the acquisition of Broadridge of Advisor Stream by Broadridge back in 2021. We had followed that platform and how they had improved in the market and built their position. And I was pretty smart move, I think, on your part to acquire them. So it's been 3 years. What new features have been added? What have you been doing with these guys? How have they been growing? Has it been integrated into other parts of Advisor Solutions? What's the story?
Yeah, thanks. I got to know the founder, Kevin Mulhern, a number of years before the acquisition. And we actually, to your point about the space getting more crowded, I mean, we've been servicing, the big firms, the mid-sized firms, the small firms. And so we keep our ear to the grindstone as best we can. And the name Advisor Stream kept popping up on our radar. Advisors would tell us, hey, do you know these folks? Have you talked to them? So I had the opportunity to go up to Toronto to meet Kevin, years before, and I was really impressed with the approach that he had, which was kind of the same. They were essentially trying to solve the same problem, which is how do you help advisors and firms engage clients and prospects to grow their business. But where Broadridge had taken the approach of, we, produce content, and a lot of that content we get lettered with FINRA, whereby we can make sure to create really high quality content that's consumable for varying levels of sophistication, and on a wide variety of topics. Kevin and the advisor stream team had gone out and they had directly licensed content from a marquee list of third-party publishers. And not only that, they had a fantastic piece of software that they had built, which enabled deployment of that content always within the advisor's brand across channels and also on a one-to-one basis. So we've really, to the next part of your question, how have we kind of put these things together? I mean, I would say it was like really a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I mean, what we had and what Advisor Stream has, we've absolutely put together. And I would say it's really the way that we go to market. The Advisor Stream platform, with all of the Broadridge content, with our websites integrated, so that the firms and their advisors can access, personalize, and push content across websites, social media channels, email, on a one-to-many and one-to-one basis. We've invested heavily in that. And so I think new things that have happened, there's a longer list than, and I'm sure your audience cares to hear here, but I would say some of the bigger things that I'll do a drive-by on are, we've we recognize a lot of firms really wanted to think more about precision touch points to drive specific outcomes. So we've really honed this idea of surgical level campaign creation and campaign management, where you can target specific audiences, you can create journeys really geared towards specific audiences, and the content that you have to drive certain outcomes, depending on the level of interaction, obviously is very wide. We've done a tremendous amount in our analytics area. We've done things like just introduced, multi-language. So we're now multi-language both in the actual software and in the content. And we've also expanded our approach to social media, and we've really enabled a kind of an interesting level of collaboration between the advisor level user base and folks that support the advisors. So we've done a lot more in terms of enabling, kind of field level and home office folks to really bring a bit more firepower to help their advisors use social media channels, and really get more results and ROI out of that. So let me pause there. I could go on and on, but you can steer the conversation any way you want, Craig.
Kevin, I'm going to steer the conversation here. So that was a very comprehensive answer. I'm going to go backwards. Expanded
Okay.
social media collaboration between advisors, home office, and support staff, delivering more results and ROI. Can you drill down on that? What do you mean by expanded social media collaboration between these, and how does that work, and how is it driving more results?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. So, I mean, one, we see that we hear a lot people talk about what are the ingredients that tend to drive social media engagement, and we find interestingly that it's not always the really crunchy financial nitty-gritty content that always is getting the best results on social media, but sort of sprinkling in a smattering of like really kind of more slice of life, personalized content, charities that the advisor or the firm is involved in, things like that are also really a nice way to kind of have a healthy diet in social. So one aspect is we've just kind of, created more capabilities that allow the advisors to put their personal brand a little bit more on display. But the other part is a lot of the firms that we work with, they would say, the content that Broadridge, both through our proprietary and the third party content that we bring, is fantastic. But they also, bigger firms are investing in their own proprietary content as well. Things that they want to make sure is reaching the echo of their advisors, clients through social media channels. So this idea where home offices can set up social media posts that their then advisors can opt into a series of communications that will then automatically flow out to their clients and prospects. It could be on a variety of topics, right? Hey, follow our series um, on estate planning, or follow our series on end of year tax planning. And then the home office can really help enable that on a more automated basis using oftentimes a lot of their proprietary produced content, and they can kind of, do that on behalf of and get that scale that I think a lot of firms are looking for.
Cool. I think that's super helpful. Um, and it makes a lot of sense for the home office to be able to build out those options for advisors, especially if you have thousands of advisors. Why would they all be building their own series on end of year tax planning? Why not give them something? Was most of it's just the same content, just branded logos and such, white labeled, and maybe they may want to tweak it a little bit or add a little bit of personal touch to it, but that saves tremendous amount of time. And is there also tracking in there and integration to marketing platforms?
Yeah, so firms that we work with tend to use Adobe Analytics, Google Analytics, or some derivation thereof. So we have within the platform, in fact, we're actually just about to release an upgrade to our home office analytics. So in the platform, the home office folks and all those stakeholders can see program wide, what's working, what's trending, all of that. And so that's actually something we kind of hang our hat on is the ability for firms to really see, hey, who are my most active advisors? What are they doing? How do I then maybe get more of my less active or less effective advisors to emulate that? That's a little bit of our, sort of mantra is the analytics should be driving behaviors. So that all can happen within the system. But it also all that data can easily port into those other third-party systems that I mentioned. And so, the other just thing to mention about some of the things we've been doing where we've been kind of placing our investment is, as you'd probably guess, we view this as a very, very adjacent technology to CRM. So the whole idea I mentioned, kind of one-to-one communications. That was something that we were always impressed with the advisor stream tech, in that the algorithms that they had built to enable the system to help the advisor understand, hey, what should I be sending to Craig versus Kevin, and make it push button easy to send. That's all fantastic, and that capability is really valuable. But it really does, in so many places, it couples perfectly, and sometimes even I would say belongs in the CRM. So, all the sort of the big box CRMs and the really kind of more wealth specific CRMs, we've just been doing more and more to make almost the edges between the applications of CRM and this content marketing platform, a little bit more seamless. So it's like you can have a little bit of that, less of that swivel chair problem, and get the most out of your activity, whether you're in the CRM or whether you're in our platform.
Indeed, yeah, it's so important to be able to move back and forth between these different applications and be able to integrate with whatever tools the wealth management firm is using. More of our enterprise clients will use a Salesforce for CRM, but they might use a HubSpot for marketing, and then they have integrations between those two. So will Advisor Stream integrate into HubSpot so you're tracking prospects, and then integrate into Salesforce so you're tracking content going to clients?
I would say Salesforce, yes, and already very big yes. We integrate, I would say, very deeply into Salesforce. So a lot of the capability on the one-to-one communication lives now natively in Salesforce and in other CRMs. HubSpot, I would say not so much. I mean, we don't have an integration directly with HubSpot. I don't know that we would. I think of HubSpot as a fantastic platform. I think of it as sort of purpose built slightly differently. We try to put a healthy balance of control within kind of the home office marketing and compliance folks and the advisor. I would say erring a little bit more towards making this a system that advisors can be pretty hands-on with. Whereas, HubSpot, I mean, I've been a marketer my whole career. Like that's a powerful platform for pretty sophisticated marketers. So, um, we don't have an integration there, but the CRM is definitely, I'd say, center of the bullseye of where we will continue to integrate more deeply.
What about other advisor CRMs like Redtail, Wealthbox, and Advisor Engine CRM?
Yes, yes, and yes. And in fact, Wealthbox, I would say, is the one that we've probably been doing more work of late. A little bit of Redtail, but I would say it's a good time to be an advisor, in terms of these technologies, because you mentioned it before, the rather crowded place of marketing tech for advisors is similar to CRM tech for advisors, and it's like with more choice comes, I think, naturally better quality. So we see those CRMs as really strong partners. We look and try to have relationships where we understand where they're taking their roadmaps, and we try to bring them into the fold on where we're taking our capabilities. And it's a kind of a nice virtuous circle. We think of them as really important partners as we kind of think about the path ahead for us.
That's awesome. All right, let's shift gears. Broadridge recently conducted a marketing survey of 400 advisors, and there were some really interesting results. Can you talk a little bit about what's behind the survey and how you guys came up with it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that look, there's a rather maybe a little cliche now saying, but I've always thought it was pretty apt, is that the marketer doesn't choose the channel, the consumer chooses the
Mm.
channel. And I think that to me that's kind of a really good way of essentially saying like if you're trying to market and grow your business, you need to be where the customer is, and where the customer is and what the customer prefers and how they want to engage and consume information is, I mean, it's changed since I got into this business, and it's changing faster and faster. And so we do two really key pieces of research. One is we do try to go, and we partner with Dow Jones for a piece of research where we try to really understand investor sentiment and what investors want. But the other one is we ask advisors, how are they reaching prospects and clients? Where are they spending their dollars? What's working? What's not working? And we do it yearly because, more importantly than what we might see with any single annual cut of the data is how are things changing and where are things shifting to? So for us, it's actually become a really valuable bellwether to help us understand where, particularly, are the growth oriented advisors, where are they shifting their priorities to and their dollars to, and how do we meet them, where they're headed. Craig, I think you muted yourself.
You are correct. Annual is way better when it comes to these surveys. I don't like the ones that are every 2 or 3 years because the trends are the most important part of the data. I want to see how things are changing over time, not just a snapshot. Now, in this recent survey, a couple statistics jumped out at me. One, it said advisors with a defined marketing approach generate 168% more leads and onboard 50% more clients than those without. Could you define, well, what is the definition of a defined marketing approach?
Yeah, I think that's as much as we love to talk about the shiny objects in this space, what's the new channel, AI, things like that, which is they're all relevant. I think that this question somewhat gets overlooked. So in my mind, a defined plan is a plan that allows you to hold your marketing specifically accountable. You need to know where you're spending and you need to know what's generating your ROI. That's a defined plan. And it sort of stems from concrete marketing objectives. What are your marketing objectives? And therefore, based on those objectives, what is your plan to invest both money and time to reach those objectives? And then evaluating your plan specifically to understand and optimize that investment over time. To me, that's what a plan is. And yeah, I think Craig, this has been consistently the biggest single predictor of better results for advisors, more so than, how much they're spending, more so than, what channels they're investing in, more so than what demographics they're targeting. Having a plan is really the thing that seems to separate the most effective growth oriented advisors from really the rest of the pack.
I like that. Concrete marketing objectives. Because what I've found with some advisory firms is that they have an approach, but it's a little fuzzy. It's not quite concrete, kind of maybe more like Jello. And that's probably a reason why they're not getting the same results you're seeing in your survey. So
And
how
interestingly,
does
oh, sorry, I was just going to say, I mean, it's sort of antithetical to the whole model advisors practice with their clients,
Mm,
right? I mean, the model that they practice with their client is goals based, and one where you're tracking against specific quantifiable goals.
mm,
Anything but that in terms of marketing, I would say has a pretty insidious cost. If you're not concrete about it and you're not specific and you're not measuring, I worry even less about the spend, right? I mean, the survey talk tells us that roughly, on average, it's about $16,000 to $17,000 that advisors are spending on their marketing. That's in terms of dollars. But you mentioned Michael Kitces earlier. I mean, he's done some looks at, well, how much time are they spending? And I think that if you're not defined about your objectives and you're not tracking both the time and the money you're spending, that is a very good recipe to waste both time and money.
I couldn't agree more with that, Kevin. All right. we are running out of time. I think I can sneak in one more question. So also in the Financial Advisor Marketing Trends report, you noted 49% of advisors surveyed saw an increase in inbound prospect requests, up from 43% in 2022. What do you think is driving this? Is it fear about the economy? Is it post-COVID stress? Something else? What's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, 43% to 49, I think that's that's a number that I would have to remember how that's tracked over time. But I think the big macro factors that you just mentioned are certainly, to me, good reasons why that would be. I think, advisors, if advisors right now are not more on offense than they've ever been before in terms of having a really strong digital presence to attract the right types of inbound prospects. I would say if you're growth oriented and you're not on offense, shame on you, because yeah, the times when markets are on seemingly on autopilot, and it seems like everybody seems to be doing well, and there's reason to be optimistic, I think are the same times when Jane and John Q. Public are most apt to say, I'm good, I don't need a financial advisor. But it's when these kind of macro forces come into play that maybe are, to put it mildly, put a little bit of a storm cloud or two on the horizon, that more and more individuals, I think, are realizing that, hey, it may be time for me to actually seek out a professional. And so, yeah, I would say, that time is definitely now. I think it's if there is a silver lining to times of uncertainty, it's that it's a very, good calling card for an advisor to say, hey, this is what I'm here to help you with.
I want to encourage all my listeners that the time is now, as Kevin says. No time like the present. Kevin, you said it all. We are now out of time. How can people listening find out more about Broadridge Advisor Solutions?
Yeah, thanks so much, Craig. Broadridgeadvisor.com would be the place to go. And we'd love to, have you come take a look at the research that we talked about, and learn more about us.
Kevin, thanks again for being here. Super excited that you were on the program.
My pleasure, Craig. Thanks so much. A lot of fun.
Hey, it's Craig again. Here are my top 3 or 4 takeaways from this episode. Man, the advisor digital marketing space is getting crowded. But as Kevin mentioned, Broadridge focuses on quality, trustworthy content that they believe will drive engagement. And advisors choose their channels based on customer preferences. So Broadridge is looking to meet advisors where they're headed. Check out the Broadridge Annual Marketing Trends Survey. We'll put the link in the show notes, which had some really interesting tidbits of information, such as 49% of advisors surveyed saw an increase in inbound prospect requests. And then we talked about what Kevin thought was driving that. And finally, defined marketing approach. What it means having concrete marketing objectives with a plan to reach them, and something that you monitor and evaluate over time. And according to their survey, whether you have a defined marketing approach or not is the biggest predictor of positive results in your marketing. So why not get a defined marketing approach? All right, you've reached the end of another episode of the WealthTech Today podcast. But before you go, please head over to our website, ezragroup.com, scroll to the bottom of the homepage, and sign up for our newsletter. Once a month, you'll receive an email chock full of wealth management goodness, news, and information, and even updates. You will not be disappointed. Thanks again for listening, and talk to you all again next time.